everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And today we have a special episode of the podcast. This is the start of kind of a new series, but it feels like an old series because I've been doing it for many years. But first time having someone join me. And this is going to be a new Blind Spot series that we're going to try to do every month, every so often. I've been doing Blind Spot on my blog since 2016. I'm just about to have my 100th Blind Spot. I'm on 97 was this month, so I've got a couple months. But and so I was talking to Manda about this that I do, and she was like, "Hey, I want to come on." And so we started talking. It's going to be super fun. And some months we'll have the same one, and then because we both have the same blind spot, and other months we'll be on more theme. So like obviously you've seen like Deadpool or something like that, that's just on my list this year. And so then you'll pick maybe something similar that you haven't seen. And then we'll talk about it. So it should be pretty fun. And this will air in February. So we're like a little bit behind because of Sundance. But I thought just real quick, I would just go over my picks for the year. And when I do my blind spot picks, I try to have a mixture of what I think are like, because I don't want it to be just a bunch of art house, critically praised movies. That's going to be super boring for me and the readers. So I try to have a mixture of popular films that I haven't seen, cult classics, critically praised, a good mixture. So this year I have in January, I have JFK. That's what we'll be talking about today. I have Love Story. I always try to pick a romance in February.
Watch.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
Which I've never seen. Love Story. March is one of my huge blind spots. I have never seen John Wick. So that will be.
I gotta pick one. Maybe I'll do one of the other John Wick films because I watched the first one. So maybe I'll do the second one.
Oh, okay. So you haven't seen the other ones in the series?
No, I haven't.
Oh, perfect. Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay, it'll work out.
Well, maybe I'll watch then the first two. Because then we can.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. That's what I'll do. Remind me. Yeah.
We're planning as we go here.
Okay. And so then April, I'm doing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah.
Good.
I did Fistful of Dollars last year, which was also by Sergio Leone, and I enjoyed that. And so I thought, why not do the good, bad, and the ugly this time? In May, I'm doing 7 Days in May. This is a 1964 political thriller that I thought would be fun. It has great cast: Burt Lancaster, Kirk Douglas, Ava Gardner.
Whoa.
So yeah.
That sounds awesome. I'm on board.
Yeah. In June, I have The Magnificent Ambersons, which is going to be very, very interesting because this is a notorious film that it was sort of the Snyder cut of its day. Orson Welles made it, and the studio took an hour off of the film completely, and then reshot it and changed it. And I've heard that this new version is pretty bad. But I think it'll be interesting as a piece of Hollywood history.
That sounds awesome.
No one knows where that missing 1 hour is. And
wow.
So, okay. Then in July, I have Deadpool. I've never seen it. So
we'll
see.
I haven't seen Blade. So maybe I'll do Blade when you do Deadpool.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just to even that out, that'd be cool.
In August, I have Far from the Madding Crowd. This is the 1967 version.
I've heard of that.
I love the version from 2015 with Carey Mulligan and Matthias Schoenaerts. It's, I think, extremely underrated and beautiful, and everybody keeps telling me, well, you haven't seen the really good one yet, and so we'll see. And then in September, I have The Plague Dogs, and this is by the same people who did Watership Down, which I love. I've never seen it. I always try to pick one animated film, but we're running out. I've really seen most of the films.
You kill it all the time. You've watched so many. So
yeah, looking forward to that. October is my horror choice. I'm watching The Thing.
I just watched it. That's awesome. Okay. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on that one. I really am.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Last year I did Trick or Treat, and that was too scary. It was too much.
I couldn't watch it either. I turned it off halfway. I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
November, I have Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. I love Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Search for the Holy Grail is absolutely hilarious. It's one of my favorite movies. But I've never seen this one, and I know it's a little bit more blasphemous
Ooh.
and it has a big vomit joke that's very famous. And I'm a sympathetic vomiter, so like I really hate it. That's the one thing I hate about Pitch Perfect is all the throw up.
Oh, that was so bad. I remember.
So
Oh my God.
yes.
Ooh, I feel
And
you.
then in December, I have It Happened on Fifth Avenue, which is a Christmas movie that I have not seen, which we're also running out of those. I've seen almost all
Also
the
true.
Christmas movies.
We need more. That means anything. We need more.
Yes. So there
yeah.
we go. And like I said, this month we're doing JFK. You'd never seen this, correct?
No,
Yeah.
it was on my list for like the longest time. I actually did like a Kevin Costner marathon last year. I don't know why I chose him, but I saw Field of Dreams one night and I'm like, this was really good. And then I just wanted to watch more from him. And then I'm like, wow, he's such a great actor. And then you said you had JFK on the list and I'm like, perfect. Like I'll just jump on board for that.
Yeah, that is where Kevin Costner. I was just think of it in How I Met Your Mother when the boys find out that Robin doesn't like Field of Dreams. They're like,
remember that. I cried. Like, how do you not like? It's impossible if someone hates that movie.
She's like, it's about ghost baseball players. I think it's stupid, and they're all like, what?
I feel that after watching it, I'm like, I totally understand that reaction now. Like,
but I love Field of Dreams, and
so good.
And I recently saw Bull Durham last year. That's a good movie. That is
it's so good.
Sexy movie. It is.
I died. I was like, well, how am I watching this? This isn't about baseball. Like baseball's like in the background. I'm like, Susan, I was like, what are you talking about? Because didn't she meet
Tim Robbins?
What's his name? Tim Robbins. That's where they met and they got married.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the chemistry was like off
huge.
The charts. Yeah.
And he's very handsome in that movie. They all are. It's like the most beautiful movie.
I think I fell in love with Kevin Costner after Bull Durham. I'm like, I get it. So, yeah.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics Panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. So JFK, I think it's one of those movies that I think it makes a lot of sense that it was on both of our blind spots. It's over 3 hours long. And it seems from the outset, it seems like, oh, that seems heavy. And it's just not that many times that you want to like sit down and watch a heavy movie that's 3 hours long. You know,
it's true. It's true. I mean, yeah.
And then now that I've watched it, I'm like, it's actually really not that heavy, but it is long.
It is long. It feels long in the middle because it just took a long time to get into the investigation. I think that's what bothered me a lot. And there was so many moving parts in the middle of it. And I couldn't keep track of like who was coming in, but it towards the end, it just like wraps into a nice little bow, especially like the courtroom scenes. Just
I mean, phenomenal. This cast is legendary. You've got Kevin Costner, Garrett Oldman, Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, Sissy Spacek. The list goes on. And it's directed by Oliver Stone, written by Jim Garrison, Jim Maris, Oliver Stone. And I think that it's interesting because it is 3 hours long and there's lots going on, but I was like, what do we really talk about? Because it's so many like little pieces that all together make it work, but aren't like that seem kind of that don't have a lot to talk about. I don't know, there's not like a lot of like ambiguity or like what's going on here. But I
No.
think what we should talk about first is just like, I guess, first of all, did you enjoy the film? But then secondly, did it convince you? Do you think that that Oswald didn't do it?
Oh, I know that he did not do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've read so many things. Like I'm not like
Oh, not just
into
this.
the yeah, it's not just this. Like I've really gone into like the JFK story with
Mm-hmm.
everything that's happened to that poor family as well. Like it's just devastating one right after the other. But I
Mm-hmm.
think they did such a good job breaking it down
They really did.
and just having the audience really look at all the pieces because they did every single angle of that assassination,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what everyone has basically studied since it happened, and they're still going in depth. And I remember watching the film, and at the end they have like the intertext, and they said I think it was 2029 that the actual records would be released. So it's crazy that like we watched it now in 2024 and I'm like, oh my God, like it's a short
It's
amount of
not
time
that long.
until
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And it's like we finally got there. And then once that's revealed, like who knows what else is going to come out from that. But for me, I really enjoyed it. Again, I felt the runtime.
Mm-hmm.
It did drag a bit, but I was completely taken by the investigative like aspect of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
as someone who's like studied journalism as well, it was just really awesome to see the tactics they used, and the writing's incredibly strong.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that's what works. And yeah,
I
yeah,
really do think that if this were to be made today, it would be a four-part mini series
yeah.
on Netflix or HBO Max or some place like that.
Oh, definitely. But I
Yeah.
think I was saying this like off camera.
Because
This felt
it felt episodic in a
it
lot of
did.
ways that you could
They could have
easily
done
make
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they could have easily done it, but I think that this was like the blueprint for so many other films,
Yes.
or like even like projects. They did have limited series. I think Greg Kinnear played JFK. There was a Kennedy series with him in it as well. It was like 6 parts. We got the fantastic film Jackie from Pablo Larraín as well, who like did it in a different way, but I
Mm-hmm.
really like that. But I said to you off camera, I'm like, this is like the blueprint for Oppenheimer
Mm-hmm.
because it was also 3 hours and the structure is quite similar.
Yeah, that's true.
And then even like the cinematography, which was brilliant, completely brilliant in JFK. I thought the way that he went from like archival footage, black and white, the snapshots,
Yeah.
like everything was
Yeah.
incredible there. But you could just see that this was it. Like any political drama, like it stems from JFK. You could see now.
You really see why it won the Oscar for cinematography and editing, for sure.
Yes, big time.
I,
I just hate that it lost elsewhere, but that's just the point that year. So
yeah, it was a weird year, as I recall. Wasn't that let's see, this is 1991, and let's see what, uh, let's see here, what, I had it open, and I was looking at it, that, let's see
it's like shocking in my
here.
eyes. It's shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, let's see, 1991. It's, I was gonna say, was it the year of Beauty and the Beast? It was kind of a weird year. Um, oh yeah, so this was the year. Yeah, okay. So it was the year The Silence of the Lambs, Beauty and the Beast, Bugsy, JFK, and The Prince of Tides. So it's a
Yeah.
rare horror win. I've never seen Silence of the Lambs. And I think Beauty and the Beast is a perfect film. So
Same. Yeah, I mean, after watching Silence of the Lambs, I understood that if it was like the one horror movie to ever win anything, I
uh-huh.
get the win, but against JFK, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
What did you do? But I get it. At the same time,
Yeah.
can we have a tie? Like, it should have been a tie. I don't get it. But
Do you think that one of the other sort of suspects, did you feel like, okay, this is really the guy that did it? Or do you think it was left pretty ambiguous?
it was still left ambiguous. They kind of hint at who they shouldn't be talking about. And I got that quite a bit throughout. So they drove that home, but it was not
Mm-hmm.
Lee Harvey Oswald. Like, I really do think that they covered it up quite well in the film to kind of not point at who it actually is, but everyone does generally know who
Uh-huh.
did
I mean,
it. So
I think that Oswald was probably there. I think that he was
yeah,
probably involved. I just think that it was clear from the timing of the of that he literally could not have gotten those bullets off fast enough. They proved
absolutely
it.
not.
And
Yeah,
so there had to have been another person there. And I mean, I think they proved pretty concisely that Oswald had motivation.
hmm,
And they tried to show that, okay, was he actually a double agent? Was he getting information from Russia and selling it to the US? Was he They tried to
yeah,
claim that, but I'm like, I don't know about that. But
yeah. I think that was a stretch too.
yeah, that was a stretch. I mean, especially considering like his wife was
Mhm.
from Russia and everything, and he's a devoted communist. So unless he's like so deep undercover that like his entire life is fake,
Yeah.
and which seems like a stretch. So I really think that some of these other people were involved. Of course, they send this guy Shaw to trial, and they have the whole trial,
Hmm.
and so that he says there that he was like one of three assassins
Yeah.
firing the shots, and so they go up to trial, and the jury says not guilty.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just crazy. It's crazy because you know the political side of it. I mean, we see it today, how like corrupt certain things are. So it's just to follow a story that long and kind of know everything that's happened with the JFK assassination. It's like seeing the not guilty verdict. You're like, of course that happened,
Well,
right?
and then there's this
Yeah.
guy Broussard, who was kind of the henchman over Shaw, and with Shaw
Mhm.
was what's going on with Shaw and Broussard, and Shaw is also gay, and
Mhm.
so there's like how much of his Garrison's focus of Shaw is that because he's homophobic, or is he not homophobic, or we don't like that's brought up too. So you don't know, is Garrison, what are his motives? And you definitely
Mhm.
feel like he has pretty pure motives, but he also getting a lot of pressure at home, and
Yeah.
it's still the late 60s. So what did you think of Garrison as
True.
a character and Kevin Costner's performance?
The man is brilliant, first and foremost.
Yeah.
I adore him, clearly, as I
Yeah.
stated. I'm surprised that he didn't win for this because like he was steady throughout and I really loved his performance, but then just the courtroom scene alone and the emotion that he conveyed because he just knew that there was so much corruption that they were hiding. I
Yeah.
just think that it was fantastic. Even like the screenplay in like that particular section, it was almost like I'd say 10, almost like 10, 15 minutes. It felt like 10, 15 minutes towards the end of this film that he just kept going and going and going. But he was brilliant. His whole team was great.
Mhm.
I think Laurie Metcalf was in it too, a very young Laurie
Yes.
Metcalf.
Yes.
So she was amazing. But I really liked the character interactions when he went to go interview like Jack Lemmon and different people like that. Kevin Bacon is also in this, a very young Kevin Bacon. So I think that the benefit is that he was able to have chemistry with certain people throughout.
Hmm.
Um, but my favorite part, because I've never seen Tommy Lee Jones young. And like
Oh
I've
yeah.
never seen him in a role that he wasn't like upset. So like he always has the like mean mug on him, like he's miserable majority of the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I've never seen him like actually strut his stuff in something.
Uh-huh.
So I was completely blown away. Like if I had to say my top two in this film, like this cast is brilliant. But between Kevin Costner and Tommy Lee Jones, like those are my top two of the film. But I liked
Uh-huh.
Garrison as a character. I think he grounded everybody because he kept questioning everything at the same time.
Hmm.
And he didn't leave any stone unturned. So he
I
knew what
I always
for.
think of Tommy Lee Jones with The Fugitive. And we're gonna check every doghouse, hen house, outhouse.
That I have to watch. So yes.
Oh, you gotta
I
have it on
know.
here.
I've been so honest with what I haven't seen ever since you said, like, you mentioned the blind spots. I'm like, thank you, Rachel, for making me feel seen. And I'm just gonna say
It's
it
a
now.
favorite. A lot of
Yeah.
my blind spots are movies that were rated R, because for years I didn't watch rated R movies until I
Right.
became like a critic.
Mhm.
And I realize now that I was like stupid, but that was just the way I was raised.
No, no, I get
and
that.
and especially because like at church they advise against watching rated R movies, but the thing
Mhm.
is that is in a booklet, in advice specifically given to youth that are
Mhm.
counseled, and that makes total sense. They're not even
Of course.
technically really supposed to watch them anyway.
Yeah,
you
it's
know
true. You're right.
and
Yeah.
and so the rating is just a number, and
Mhm.
it's there's just so many stupid things that can make something rated R,
It's true.
and things that can be really violent and really offensive that can get PG-13.
Mhm.
So it's ridiculous.
It's true. The rating systems are so weird. I'll never understand it. That's a whole
No,
other
no.
conversation.
And so that's where, though, a lot of my kind of blind spots end up being, and people are like, I can't believe you don't watch that. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry.
You're not alone.
Also, I was a mission for my church from 2004 to 2003 to 2005. So I was gone for the
Mhm.
whole of 2004.
Wow.
And so I do have still some blind spots. I mean, obviously, when I got home, I was like, I need to watch Return of the King immediately.
Of
But
course. Oh my
and
God.
The Incredibles. Those are like the two big ones to
Best.
watch.
The best one.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
best Pixar one.
yeah.
Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by W Rated, the podcast where we willingly watch the world's worst rated movies. Join me, Daisy,
and me, Claire, as we break down the IMDb Bottom 100, choosing a different film from the list every episode.
We take a deep dive into the plot, production, release, and reviews, usually with a special guest, to uncover if these films are truly as bad as everyone says they are.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, and anywhere else you find your podcasts.
But yeah, we all have them, and that's what's fun about this project. Um,
Mhm.
I think that Joe Pesci's character was pretty shady. David Ferry.
I love Pesci, but
Yeah.
the freaking wig and the eyebrows, I could not stand behind. I'm like, it's a great performance, like truly, but I just could not get away from the wig and the eyebrows. I just couldn't do it.
The eyebrows, especially, they were strong.
And there was one point when he put his like fingers in his hair and it moved, and I'm like, oh my God, it's not supposed to move. I was like, what'd you guys do?
But I kind of felt like a little bit of that was intentional. Like his character was
Maybe.
supposed to be kind of like, I think he was supposed to have a toupee. Like he was supposed to be
Yeah.
that kind of
Maybe.
character.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he claims, oh, there's no evidence of my connection. But and then you kept seeing him around, and then this Jack Lemmon character, he had like a deal to track, and there's this whole like Cuban mafia thing that became involved. And what was Jack Lemmon's character's name? Jack Martin was this guy's name.
Yeah.
That he was the New Orleans district attorney. Oh wait, no, he was Jack Martin. Let's see, New Orleans businessman and Jack Martin. And yeah, I mean, this case just gets so crazy that it says that the origins of Garrison's case can be traced to an argument between New Orleans residents Guy Bannister and Jack Martin. On November 22nd, 1960, the day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, Bannister pistol whipped Martin after a heated exchange. There are different accounts as to whether the argument was over phone bills or missing files. Over the next few days, Martin told authorities and reporters that Bannister had often been in the company of a man named David Ferry. That's Joe Pesci character.
Yeah.
Who Martin said might have been involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Martin told the New Orleans police that Ferry knew accused assassin Lee Harvey Oswald going back to when both men had served together in the New Orleans Civil Air Patrol, and that Ferry was supposed to have been the getaway pilot in the assassination. Martin also said that Ferry had driven to Dallas the night before the assassination, a trip which Ferry explained as research for a prospective business venture to determine the feasibility and possibility of opening an ice skating rink in New Orleans. So what's interesting is that basically I thought the motivation was interesting. That the reason why they wanted to kill JFK was because he was being kind of bullish about pulling out of Vietnam. And they did not want that to happen. That they wanted to, for like business reasons and other things, they didn't want this to happen. And in literal, it is kind of sus because literally immediately, even before the funeral, LBJ stops that order. And there's that news thing of like the business of government doesn't stop, and LBJ has been sworn in and is one of the first things he did, which is so interesting.
It's all connected. It's all connected. Business, politics, it's there and it's hidden until someone like Garrison tries to uncover it, and then he's being silenced literally the entire film because he's getting close to it. I think also to add, because we forgot about him too, the scene with Donald Sutherland, who comes in like before the courtroom in the third act here, and basically
that was crazy.
Right? He exposes everything. And you're just sitting there listening to him. You're like, he's right about everything. And now Garrison
who is
knows.
That? We didn't even know who that was.
No, we had no idea. I was just like, And I was just blown away by the placement, because then that pushes Garrison forward as well. But Donald Sutherland was just completely brilliant in that too.
Yeah. And Ed Asner's the one who's Bannister, the one that got in the fight with Martin. And so that's...
There's so many people. There's so many characters. There's so many. I was like, oh, we forgot this person. It's like, well,
It says so Bannister, who died, and when Garrison is looking over, he re-interviews Martin, who told the district attorney that Bannister and his associates were involved in stealing weapons and ammunition from armories in a gun running. Garrison believed that the men were part of an arms smuggling ring supplying anti-Castro Cubans with weapons. So there's that going on. There's also all this stuff in Vietnam going on. It's wild.
It's insane.
Communists that wanting power. There's this whole sort of there's the gay element of this one character. And how is that part of, like, he's trying to hide, who he is, and so then the conspiracy, who else is hiding, and kind of a thing. So it's fascinating. And that so then David Ferry in 1967, that he was the chief suspect, was found dead in his apartment from a brain aneurysm. Garrison suspected that Ferry had been murdered, despite the coroner's report that his death was due to natural causes. According to Garrison, the day news of the investigation broke, Ferry had called his aide, Lou Ivan, and warned that I'm a dead man.
Oh, yeah. 100% he was murdered. Aneurysm. Okay. Sure. You know how many times they've covered it up with like just some random brain injury or something that. So, they've done that.
Well, and the other thing, they didn't really talk about this at all in the movie, but JFK's father was also involved in a lot of shifty stuff. And I think his dad was named Jack. Because John Kennedy Jr. Anyway, his dad was. I've seen this other documentary, and they're saying that, like, basically he had to make a lot of underhand deals in order to get like both of his sons to get the attention and get to the spaces that they, and then like
100%.
later on when they wouldn't play ball, especially Bobby, when he's, out, just real activist. And, and then here, John F. Kennedy is like really an activist for civil rights and for other things. And so then the mob who helped get him into power was really upset with the Kennedys, didn't like the Kennedys. And so that's also a conspiracy theory out there. And they didn't really go into that much in this because there was so much other stuff going on. But
see, I think they did by leaving it ambiguous, because they're like, whenever it pointed to like Pesci or to Tommy Lee Jones, even like Donald Sutherland said, like everyone said it without saying it, which I think was like really slick. So every finger points to them in this particular case. And especially after, I have to plug The Irishman because of the whole Jimmy Hoffa storyline as well. With JFK, it was very small. It wasn't the whole movie, but it just showed where like loyalties lie and just how quickly people can turn. And that's exactly what happened with JFK. So there are enough pieces to the puzzle to point the finger, I think. But don't come after me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I didn't realize though that LBJ, that he did that the day of, and maybe they amplified it for a dramatic effect. Who knows?
Definitely.
But that it was that soon after that. I mean, that's pretty shady.
It's so shady. There's so many shady things. Like you could write like an entire list of what was shady back then. Because now I feel like now everything's just out in the open.
Yeah.
And everyone knows way too much about everything. But back then you could get away with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff you could get away with.
It's true, because there just wasn't this footprint of people.
No,
that
like at all.
How could you do it now? I mean, people manage to, because they catfish. It's like that's the more variety is more the catfishing variety nowadays. But still, it's just wild. It's wild.
It is.
And I thought that Michael Rooker was really good in this.
Oh yeah,
Brossard. He was really good.
That's right. It's right. He was in it. A young Michael Rooker. He was very good. I have to admit. Yeah,
they were all good.
He
was sort of the mobster of the group, and so then you have this guy Clay Shaw. He's accused of hiring a prostitute, and so there's kind of that, and then there's the farrier guy who they say that all he wanted to do was become a priest. They defrocked me and I started to lose everything.
I remember that one too.
Yeah. That was good. Who was that actor? That was good. There were just so many. You can't keep track. Oh,
there's too many.
Oh no, so that was I just thought that was Fairy. That was Pesci. Yeah.
He said it. I laughed when he said that. I was like, you wanted to become a priest.
They're like, they'll destroy you. They are untouchable. And then, which is kind of ironic since Kevin Costner was in The Untouchables.
We're like, boom. We're gonna shop for that. When he said that, that's exactly what I thought of, and I'm like, oh god. Yeah. And
then LBJ, they kept the war in Vietnam the day after Kennedy's killed, and this is kings are killed, politics is power. So this is when Donald Sutherland comes in and explains the whole thing. People are suckers for the truth, and the truth is on your side.
Such great lines. Like, just such great lines. Power, man.
Yeah. And so then he has some conflict with his wife, plays Sissy Spacek, and he wants him to. I mean, she's just so obsessed with the case. Which how could you not be?
Yeah. It's hard not to be. I was kind of like, can you relax, ma'am? Like, this is a like, let him do his job. I would understand. I understand you have like 5 kids at home.
Yeah.
Like, come on, let him do it.
Yeah. And then they have then Robert Kennedy is shot. And this is after they had announced about Reverend King getting
Mm.
shot. And so then that was very effective because he's just like sort of busy listening, and then you hear him and he like stops.
That was
And
amazing.
what's just happened?
I felt that because he just
actor.
froze like he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
I like that the camera wasn't on the scene where obviously
Uh-huh.
like the television was, like
Yeah.
it stayed on Costner. But I think the more like heartbreaking moment was when he went into his wife's like bedroom, sat beside her, and then he was like, you know, like Bobby was shot. And then that was like the moment for me. He's like, okay,
Mhm.
you have more business to get through. You have to get this done because he called it.
Mhm.
He did. He's like, something else is about to happen. And then like to Bobby, and then it happened. And I think predicting something like that and then having it happen like a couple of moments later is just like, oh my God. And then that's when you know, like, it's real. Like,
Mhm.
bad things are happening.
Yeah.
So,
And he's
yeah.
like, he basically figures it out that they created this public execution to just cover it all up, and that that it was this big, the big lie was so that they would reverse Kennedy's withdrawal of Vietnam, which is just wild. It's wild.
All for
And
that.
then
Like,
they said a patriot must always be ready to defend this country. Individual human beings must have to create justice. And so yeah, that was very interesting. And we'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies. Then at the very end, Clay Shaw found not guilty. And I don't know. I mean, do you feel like how involved do you think Clay Shaw was, if at all? What do you think?
I think he was a pawn. I think majority of the ones that were like pointed at, they were pawns from like another group of people.
Yeah,
I think
he says that he thinks that there were 10 to 12 men and 3 shooters involved in the conspiracy.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
I can believe that for sure. Because they also changed the parade route. So once they change the parade route, it's like, but why and how are you changing the parade route? Like, who has the pull enough to do that from the very beginning? So to have that many people involved is like 100% accurate in my eyes.
Man, you just figure if he must have been, JFK must have been, if this was the real motive, JFK must have been really dead set about pulling out of Vietnam. I mean, there must have been no, because you would think, especially if like it involved dirt on his dad, and other stuff like that, and getting him into office, and you think things like that would be enough for him to be like, no, okay, we'll stay a little bit longer or whatever. But he must have done something that really said, like, we're moving this way, and I don't care what you all think. He must have just done something like that. And I know, it's just wild.
It's crazy. Still to this day, and you can't say yes or no. You can't know anything about it, but we will find out in 2029.
Yeah.
Like, let's just wait a couple more years, guys. Happened in the 60s, but we're finding out now. So
in the meantime, all the Kennedys it's just sad. They're practically all gone.
It's insane.
The whole family.
Like, the whole family had something. I think only one person died of natural causes. And everyone else, like plane crash, ski accidents, like obviously 2 assassinations. Like, it's just completely devastating to have that happen to an entire, in the public eye. Like, just crazy.
Yeah. So this was, I think, an excellent film. And somebody said on Letterboxd, they were saying that it felt like 3 episodes of Law and Order. I'm like, that's fair. It did kind of feel like 3 episodes of Law and Order, but I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah, if it was compelling, obviously, yeah. If it wasn't, then I'd be like, it was 3 episodes of Law and Order. But yeah, I get that for sure.
Yeah. So it was, I think, a good pick. It was a fun movie. I was probably the wrong, I should have done it in a different month because that was hard to fit that in, man. This month with Sundance, but
I don't know how you
but
did
I did. And then we have Endless Love coming up. Talk about it. Swing.
Oh, you did. I was so excited.
Get out the tissues. Get ready.
I'm ready. I think we need some good romance films in February. I'm excited.
I like the weepies. Obviously, I prefer the rom-coms over the weepies, but I don't mind a good crier.
I honestly, I put off Past Lives for the longest time because I knew it was gonna get me. Yeah. Rachel, I cried from beginning to end, and I was like gross sobbing at the end of that. I'm like, who did this to me? This is the reason why I didn't want to watch it, but there we go.
I didn't cry, but I was like so stressed out. Like I was literally like gripping.
I was like, what's gonna happen? I was like,
please don't cheat on your husband. Your husband's so nice. Please. Because I really liked him and I didn't want.
Same.
I really hate when movies try to sort of manipulate you to rationalizing infidelity. You know, that like the husband is always like the worst person, and I really don't like that, but that's not really what they did. And so he was such a nice guy that I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna leave her husband. I'm gonna feel so bad for him. But of course it all worked out. But it was, I think watching it multiple times would be more pleasant experience because that first time I was just so like,
I feel you. I honestly, I don't know how I'd sit through it again. Maybe it will be okay,
but at least knowing the ending, I think it would be like a better, less anxiety ridden.
I feel like after I let it all out, it's more so like I accept her choice and I understand her choice because I would have probably done the same thing. So I think that when it's like, if it's grounded in a realistic form that way, that's when I think she just
had a moment where and I think her husband knew she needed to have that moment where she thought about this other path that I could have taken.
Yeah.
But I don't think that she ever was really like she was committed. She had made a vow to her husband. She loved her husband. But I think that even though that was the main theme of the movie is what's another path that I could have taken.
Yeah, and we all think of that.
Yeah,
we all do. It's just it's crazy. But that one love story. I'm ready. Okay. I'm ready.
All right. I wanted to say Endless Love. I meant a love story. So let us know what you think of JFK. There's so much going on in this movie. It was kind of a hard one to sort of talk about. There's lots that we didn't talk about. So if you have other parts that you want to talk about in the comments, let us know. And the things we did talk about, what do you think? Do you think it made a convincing case like we did? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Manda, how can people find you?
Yeah, well, this was so much fun. I'm so excited to do this with you this year. So thank you for having me. You guys can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema.
Yes, definitely. You also definitely check that out. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. And also make sure you're following the Hallmarkies podcast. Got lots of fun stuff going on over there because this month, not only on my channel is Jane Austen month this month, but also on the Hallmark channel is Jane Austen month. So it's very exciting. They're having 4 new Jane Austen inspired movies over there at Hallmark. So definitely check out Hallmark's podcast. And also, if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. Especially right now, it really helps us a lot because there was this mess with this new iPhone update that messed up all the subscribers for podcasts. And so all of our numbers are almost universally way down, like 20% down. So it's very, very, very frustrating. So we could really use those reviews right now and ratings and reviews. And it's free and it's just something simple you can do to help the podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. I'll have the playlist. So every time we do one of these, you can check that out. And I also check out the Patreon and the merch store. Would really appreciate it. And thanks so much, Manda. This is so fun. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you later. Bye.